Yo, what is up, boys? It is your boy Zether, and I am back at it again to tell you all that you guys will be getting consistent bangers every single day. I promise, boys, there will be no more hiatuses for the rest of next month. And technically the next month, since tomorrow is going to be the 30th, and you guys are going to get the video on that day. But yeah, I'm back, boys, and I promise I'm going to be here every day giving you guys bangers on a consistent basis. That being said, I'm happy to announce that we got merch! Yes, boys, I did it. I finally made some merch. Now, in case any of you guys can't afford the merch and you go check out the store, I have like 4 designs as of currently right now. So in case you guys are like interested in buying any of the merch right now, you know, there is a 15% discount, I believe it is, in case you want to buy anything. And trust me, boys, it is heat. We got a little, Zether logo. Then we got, my OC character holding his weapon, then we got normal Zether in a jean jacket, and then we got the Uchiha Zether hoodie, which is pretty fire. Honestly, it's probably my favorite one out of all of them. But that being said, in case there's any new viewers here who are like, yo, who is this guy, what is he talking about? Yeah, I'm Zether, I'm here. You probably skipped the intro, so I'm probably talking to nobody. But yeah, with that being said though, guys, I hope you guys are ready to watch What If Deku Was Goku Black's Reincarnation. And with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so as some of you guys might have just noticed, we just got a new intro, and probably a lot of you guys noticed since I posted it on the community tab, as well as I made an entire video dedicated to the new intro. So if you guys saw it, let me know what you guys think down below. However, this is where we will now be starting our story. Okay, so the story of What If Deku Was Goku Black's Reincarnation is essentially going to start the day that Deku is in middle school, the day of the sludge villain incident. However, everything that happened before is going to be a little different. Deku's life in this version of events is going to be a little worse than what it was in canon. See, in this version of events, Deku and his family are struggling way more than they were in the original, because Deku's father will have actually ended up passing away in a plane accident when he was on his way to, well, his business trip about 6 years ago. Not only that, but Deku is still going to be quirkless, just like in the original version of events. And in this version of canon, Bakugo's going to be even more rude to Deku, cause him way more pain and suffering. And Inko's still going to be the same carrying a mother. However, she's not going to have as much time to be around Izuku due to the fact that she's always working. So in this version, she doesn't even tend to Deku's injuries because she's so tired. Deku doesn't even have any real interactions with his mother due to the fact that she gets home, makes food, and just passes out. Like, she literally eats and passes out. And that is what essentially is going to lead her down that slippery slope of gaining weight and, becoming how she is in the original. However, in this version, she's going to have bags under her eyes, and Deku is just going to get bullied on a day-to-day basis every single time he goes to school. Now, Deku in this version of events, on the day of the sludge villain, everything will basically happen as it did in canon. Of course, the teacher's going to come busting in, talking about some, I know you all want to become heroes, throwing the papers into the air, and all the people in the class would begin to immediately get rowdy. They would start flashing off their quirks, and everybody would just be so excited. That is until a certain somebody by the name of Katsuki Bakugo would jump on top of the desk and say, yeah, and I'm gonna be the #1 hero someday. Everybody's gonna be looking up to me. I'll be the richest hero in the world. And the teacher would just be like, yeah, if anyone can do it, Bakugo, it's you. You got the highest scores and everything. And Bakugo would just be like, yeah, teach, don't you dare compare me to the rest of these rejects. They're gonna be lucky if there's some busted D-listers. And the teacher would just be like, now, Bakugo. The rest of the class would be like, what'd you just say? And Bakugo would just be like, oh, come on, I'll take all of you. As this is when the teacher would then say, oh, Midoriya, it seems you also want to apply to UA as well. Immediately, Deku would kind of just bury his head into the desk with his lifeless expression. Bakugo would then look at Deku as he would throw an explosion at his desk, and Deku would of course fall back because he's like, Bakugo, please, not again. Bakugo would then go up to Deku, and just out of seeing the fear in Deku's eyes, the teacher would immediately look at Bakugo and say, hey, sit back down or else I'm sending you to the principal's office. And immediately Bakugo would just grunt as he says, you got lucky this time, nerd, but I can't wait until the end of class. This is when the teacher would basically start the class, and Deku would continue for the rest of the next couple of hours until finally school would finally end. Deku would be packing his things up, trying to make his way out of the classroom as soon as possible. And as soon as he would make it out the door, Bakugo would be standing there with his two goons. Immediately, Deku would fall down to the ground, and Bakugo would just proceed to start wailing on Deku as he shoots explosions at him. Deku would fall onto the ground and curl into a ball, as Bakugo's lackeys would just be like, hey Bakugo, come on, don't you think that's a little harsh? Bakugo would then look at them and say, huh? Harsh? This little wannabe thinks he can become a hero without a quirk. It's better for me to teach him a lesson than for him to die in action, don't you think? Immediately his goons would just be quiet, and Bakugo would continue to kick and stomp in Deku's head. Deku would proceed to just start crying and begging for Bakugo to stop. And this is when Bakugo would finally leave the doors. He would say, you know, if you really want to become a hero, there might just be a way to do it. Deku would immediately start listening in as Bakugo would then proceed to say, yeah, well, oh god. A little something just snuck up on me, but anyways, oh, hold on now, that sounded a little sus, but no, pause, I'm wearing socks. Anyways, Deku would just lay there as he's like, what? And Bakugo would then say, well, maybe if you swan dive off the roof and you hope in your next life you'll get reincarnated with a quirk. Immediately he'll start laughing, and Deku would just look down onto the ground as teardrops would fall, and he would then immediately begin to turn towards Bakugo's direction. He would give him a death stare, and he would then look down onto the ground as Bakugo looks at him and just with a look of just do something about it. Deku would then proceed to grab his stuff and immediately just start walking up the stairs. This is when Deku would finally make it to the top of the roof, and for those of you who don't like darkish stories, I suggest you click off now. But you know, if you do, then you should most definitely stick around. That being said, Deku would make it to the top of the roof, and this is when Bakugo and his goons would finally be at the lower ends of the area, as Deku would then proceed to just say, I'm nobody. All I do is hold my mother back. If it wasn't for the cost that she has to put in for me to even just go to school and buy my uniforms and food, maybe she can make it out. Maybe she could find another husband, live out a normal life. Maybe I won't have to live such a horrible life. He would then look down at the ground as he would see Bakugo standing down below. Immediately, one of Bakugo's goons would say, look, up there, it's Midoriya. Immediately, they would say, don't jump, as Deku would not hesitate, and on instant, he would literally throw himself down onto the ground. Bakugo would be he would be at a huge distance to be able to save Deku, and Deku would crash onto the ground as you would hear a loud thump. Immediately, Bakugo's eyes would widen as everybody would rush towards his direction. Bakugo would say, call an ambulance, as immediately people would basically begin to, well, essentially just start swirling around Deku. Deku's body would be laying there unconscious as he is literally barely gripping onto life. This is when the medics would come in, and when Deku is finally just registered as what happened to him, he would be a vegetable. Inko would have came in the room, and immediately as she was told the price for just having Deku have like a surgery that could maybe save his life, Inko would pass out and just immediately herself fall into a coma of just depression. I mean, her husband left. He jumped off. She has to work 3 jobs a day to finally be able to make ends meet. This life isn't it. Maybe she should do the same thing. And this is when the medics would then start taking her into her own room. Right as Deku had jumped off of the roof, right as that had happened, a voice would have started talking to Deku as soon as he hit the ground and passed out. Now, Deku would be inside of his mindscape, and I bet many of you guys already know who this man is. It's Black. Goku Black. He would be standing before Deku with a smirk in his face. As Deku would look towards the object, he would then immediately just be like, who are you? As Goku Black would look at Deku and he would say, well, you're me, if that answers your question. Deku would just stay silent as he would say, where am I? Is this heaven? Black would then begin to start laughing maniacally as he would say, "Kid, you really think someone like us is gonna end up there? No way." He would immediately then begin to say, "There's no way we're gonna end up there, but you just might have if it wasn't for me. Now, I'm going to offer you the chance to make the people that have made your life a living hell suffer. Me and you, we have something in common, you know? We're both gods." This is when Deku would basically just start listening as Goku Black would fly around Deku. Deku would say, "You're flying!" As Goku Black would look at Deku and say, "Yeah, and someday you will too. You're just gonna need a little bit of time to get trained up, you know? You are my reincarnation after all." Deku would hear those words as he would say, "Reincarnation?" He would immediately say, "That's real?" As Goku Black would just look at him and say, "Hypothetically, just so happens that you got lucky. Now, listen to me. For the real life, for people in the real life, it's going to seem as if one day had passed. But in here, we're going to spend the next countless years training you up so that you can finally get revenge for those who wronged you. You can now finally be a god and eliminate the human race. They're so flawed. These mortals have no morals. That one by the name of Katsuki Bakugo, oh, there's been so many times where I've wanted to take control and destroy him, rip him limb from limb, but that's not my job. That's yours. I knew that slowly, eventually the time would come. All I had to do was wait. And now it's going to be your turn to bring pain upon those who have it all so great. Those like Katsuki Bakugo." Deku, upon hearing these words, would smirk as he would say, "How do I do that?" As Black would put his hand around Deku's shoulder and he would say, "Let's get started." It's at this point that for the next couple of years in Deku's mindscape, take into consideration, this is basically like going into the hyperbolic time chamber, however without limits. For the next 5 years, Deku would proceed to train in ki control. Then he would start learning essentially Deku would learn all of Goku Black's moves, to put it bluntly. Deku learned everything in the span of the next 5 years, and he learns how to control his God ki. Deku's Super Saiyan God transformation is pink, not blue like mortals, because Deku at this point now has godly essence within him, now that he knows who he is. And now that Deku finally knows how to control this power that's vested within him, Deku is now finally ready. Deku would wake up out of his coma, as we would see everybody, we would basically see Bakugo stand just there in the room. Deku would look at Bakugo with disgust in his face. As he would proceed to basically stand up, Bakugo would open his eyes widely as he would say, "Izuku!" He would immediately say, "Nurse!" But as Bakugo went to go do that, Deku would quite literally stand up as he would blitz Bakugo, and as if it was in an instant, Deku would activate Super Saiyan God. Immediately Bakugo would say, "What's going?" As before he could say another word, Deku would grab Bakugo by the throat as he would throw him out of the building, and he would go crashing about 7 miles away. Immediately, Bakugo's body would completely go limp, and Bakugo would end up losing movement in his entire body from the neck down. Deku would then land in front of him as he would say, "Don't start dying on me so soon, Bakugo. After all, you're the one who showed me how to treat scum like you, right?" Bakugo would immediately say, "Izuku, I'm sorry." As Deku would say, "You're sorry? Now you're sorry, huh? Now that I have power, now that you caused me to die, now you're sorry, huh? You weren't sorry when you left me with these permanent marks." As he would lift up his shirt, and immediately you could see the ab lines on Deku's body. It seems as if that regimen that he had put in for the last 5 years actually ended up translating to his body. Upon the instant that Deku woke up, Bakugo would look at this as he would just have teardrops running down his face. He would say that he's so sorry. The only reason he ever picked on him was because he needed to keep Deku down so that he would never rise above him. And Deku would stop for just a second, as after hearing those words, Deku would pause and really think about what he just said. And that is when he would hear a voice inside of his head say, "He's lying to you. He's a filthy mortal who made your life a living hell. Finish him off." Deku would immediately smile as he would say, "No, You're lying. As this point that Deku would quite literally reach into his pocket as he had blitzed over and grabbed a little centipede. He would proceed to stick it inside of Bakugo's ear as it would crawl inside of his head and it would just completely start eating his brain from the inside out. Bakugo's body would just go limp and Bakugo would die on instant. This is when Deku would rise above the planet, as Deku would then start to laugh maniacally. He would then start shooting ki blasts at all of the surrounding areas. Nobody was safe. There was blasts going all around the world. And this is when Pro Hero All Might would of course be called. All Might would arrive there in about 20 minutes. And this is when Deku would continue shooting ki blasts. A bunch of smaller level heroes had came, but Deku obliterated them all. He went on a complete rampage. He was destroying the world similar to what Goku Black had done in the world of Dragon Ball Super. He's basically doing what was done to Trunks' timeline. And this is when Deku would see All Might land in front of him. Immediately Deku's anger would just transform into complete just fanboyish as he would look towards All Might and say, "All Might, it's you." For an instant he would be happy as All Might would blitz towards Deku and punch him square in the face. Deku would have a slight smile as it would turn into a frown, and Deku would then say, "You're just like them. You want to cause pain to me. Well, no one's gonna do that ever again." As his hand would immediately turn into a scythe, he would basically create a giant scythe like the one that Goku Black uses, as he would slice off one of All Might's arms. Immediately Deku would just blitz before All Might as he would grab him by the throat and say, "I wanted to do this to Bakugo," as he would crush All Might's throat immediately and drop him to the ground. This is when Deku would just smile as he would say, "This isn't enough. There needs to be more destruction. More! As he would begin to basically fly around, destroying everything in sight. Heroes after heroes would try. Endeavor would try to shoot flames at Deku, but Deku would just proceed to break every bone in his body. Best Genius would use his tendrils, but Deku would quite literally break them as, well, the little fibers aren't strong enough to hold Deku back. Midnight would try to use her ability to knock him out, but Deku would simply let his aura explode as the gas that comes off of Midnight would just disperse everywhere, and Deku would just stand before everybody. As this is when we're going to be taking a little bit of an intermission between the what if. Now, there's a couple of things that I do gotta tell you guys that I usually never get to tell you guys, because by the end of the video, most of you guys always click off. In case you don't want to hear any of this, probably skip about 1 minute into the video after this and you won't have to hear anything. But for those of you who are interested, now I'm going to be telling you guys about the merch. Okay, so I probably mentioned the merch earlier, and well, not probably, but I definitely mentioned the merch earlier, right? And I told you guys that I had plenty of designs. They're most likely going to be up on screen right now. Also, there's one more thing that I do have to mention. Everything is at a reasonable price, meaning nothing on my store is going to be above $40. So, and the shirts are going to be around I don't know, I honestly don't know, but shop's pretty clean, pretty fire, got good stuff, right? And also, for those of you who are unaware, we have a Discord server. In case any of you guys have ever wondered, it is going to be linked in the description, as well as the link to the merch store in case any of you guys want to buy anything. It'd be pretty greatly appreciated, and it would help out the channel a ton, seeing as YouTube money is a little low recently, because I was a little lazy and I didn't want to post. Plus, I've been working on the 20K special non-stop for the last couple of days for you guys, trying to make sure that this is the most banger what if that I'll ever drop. That being said though, guys, we're now going to get back into the story. Okay, this one we're now basically going to have a little bit of a 5-hour time skip, as at this point Deku would basically blitzed around half of the entire planet, and it's at this current moment that the world would quite literally be in the same state as Trunks' planet. Deku would ravaged America, and now he's came back to Japan. Deku would fly into the hospital in which his mom is in, and Inko would finally be waking up. As Deku would begin to look at her, he would immediately say, "Pitiful, you worthless creature. You seem to have never been taking care of me, and now that you're in this state," a teardrop would fall from Deku's face. He would say, "I can't help but feel sorry for you." He would aim his hand towards Inko, as Inko would look towards Izuku and say, "Izuku, I'm so glad you're fine." This is when Deku would look towards Inko's direction and say, "I love you." as he would incinerate Inko on sight. This is when Deku would then proceed to just go into, just tears would fall out from his face as Deku would just explode in laughter and tears at the same time. Deku would fall to his knees as it's at this point that Deku would just say, "There's nothing left for me." Deku would then basically proceed to charge up and to fly up into the sky as he would charge up one final attack. Kame! Hame! Ha! He would explode the entire planet. And that is where What If Deku Was Goku Black's reincarnation would end. This is a little bit of a one-shot due to the fact that, of course, if I was going to be going down the route of Deku becomes evil-ish, this What If was definitely going to be a little bit on the shorter side. However, with that being said though, guys, I do hope that I made you guys' day with this little video. It's the least that I could do. Right now, it is currently about 12 at night. So, you know, I wasn't about to make a giant series. So I thought, you know what? You guys won the poll. It's Goku Black. Next What If that will be dropping on the channel will be Naofumi. So in case any of you guys are hyped for that, definitely leave a like down below, as well as let me know what you thought of the video, as well as report your attendance down below. And don't forget to subscribe, turn those post notifications on. And with that being said, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Zether, and I am out. Peace.